Welcome to the Kellyanne Cares podcast, your go-to resource for personal growth, productivity, and building a business that aligns with your purpose. I'm Kelly, former pro makeup artist and luxury travel expert turned multi-passion entrepreneur, author, and advocate. I'm here to help you get organized, stay inspired, and create lasting success on your terms. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations around habits, healing, hustle, and heart. You'll hear from expert guests and everyday women who've built lives and businesses filled with meaning, magic, and momentum. Whether you're pivoting your brand, launching a new idea, or simply craving more wellness and structure in your day, this podcast was made for you. Life is short. Invest in yourself, create your own rules, and choose your own happiness. It's time to fuel your mind, build your brand, and transform your life. Today's episode starts now. Do you guys hear that? That delicious fizz sound? That is a delicious Diet Coke with fresh squeezed lemon. It just had to be done. It had to be done for the show. It's a very exciting show. It's one that do you hear that? It's one that I've never done before, and we're going to do it because it's the only way, and I think the best way, in order for me to get this deal done, this job done. Now, if you're new here and you're like, what is she even talking about? Oh my God, that sound is amazing, but the taste is going to be even more delicious. By the way, that is the last crispy marinated can of Diet Coke that I have, so it's time to restock. I've been like a Fresca girly lately, and I cannot get my hands on the cherry Fresca. I'm not a peach girl, so I don't know, I got to find that. But anyway, back to the very important topic. This is a pitch for someone. This entire episode is a pitch for someone. Now, let me rewind a little bit. I went to San Diego a couple weeks ago, out of the blue, back to San Diego, where I lived, in Del Mar, in Cardiff by the Sea, in Encinitas, all my old stomping grounds. I went back there because I realized I was going on a solo adventure, okay? I was trying to finish the last 2 chapters of my grief and healing chapters for my next personal growth book. And I thought I needed to go somewhere where I've never been. So I was going to look at Carmel by the Sea, Northern California. I was going to go to Maine. I grew up in Rhode Island, so I've obviously been to Maine before, but I was going to go visit a friend in Boston. And I was like, where should I go? And then I was like, you know what? I need to go back to San Diego, where I lived, and heal. So much trauma happened to me when I was in San Diego. Learning that I was misdiagnosed, having to become an overnight attorney. The pandemic happened, like so much, which I'll get into in a minute. But I just needed to go back to where I wrote my book. So I literally went to the same beach in the same town, sat in the same exact spot, watched the same exact surfers, not the same surfers, but like the whole vibe, the weather, it was all identical. It was so strange, but also like I knew that was going to happen. Like I needed this. Like I manifested it. I visualized it. I put in the mental, physical work for all the shit to happen, emotional work as well, obviously. And the healing and the clarity and so much more came out of that weekend that I could have ever expected. New friends. I was out living my best life, meeting all these new people. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't done this in years. Yes, I live in Las Vegas. Do I ever go out? No. No. I'm a happy hour girl, but I never go to the Strip anymore. And it's like a twice a year situation, maybe 3 or 4, like going out, like till 4, 6 a.m. I'm too old for that shit. But I was living my best life. I made all these new friends that I talked about on the last episode. And I was just talking with a client and we were talking about like being divorced or going out after in your 40s and trying to like make new friends that like understand where you are in like business and life. Like it's hard to find. That's why everybody relies on podcasts and the internet. So it's just crazy. Like nobody understands what I do for a living. So I just say I'm an entrepreneur, podcaster, writer, and they're like, oh, okay. I don't list off like 20 other things that I do, just like the person who I'm going to tell you about in a second. So I just like needed this weekend, okay? So when I had come back to Las Vegas, I just had this like rush, this fire. I needed to do something, like something lit a fire under my ass. Let's just say that, because that's exactly what happened. And that's exactly what I fucking needed too. So I'm on my TikTok. I was editing a video and I started scrolling for a second. And there's this page that I follow, the School of Hard Knocks, and he interviews millionaires and billionaires for like 60 seconds. Like, it's all edited, but he asks them, like, how did you make your money? What's your biggest failure? What would you teach somebody else? Like, all of this. So he runs up this guy's driveway, and there's about 4 or 5 guys, and he's like asking him all these questions, like, what do you do for a living? How much are you worth? And who he was talking to was this guy, this gentleman named Mike Repole. He's an entrepreneur, and if that name doesn't sound familiar, he's the one that sold Body Armor, Vitaminwater to Coca-Cola for billions, okay? Billons. Not millions, billions, okay? The way he was talking, his accent, I just felt like I needed to be there for the rest of this video. And I'm like, what the fuck? Who is this guy? So I start my rabbit research hole. I go down a rabbit hole of research. I listened to him on so many podcasts. I put his name into Spotify. I almost said Shopify because I've been building e-commerce sites for my clients. On Spotify, I listened to him on The Deal with Alex Rodriguez and Jason Kelly. I listened to his interview on Next Up with Adam Brenneman, on UFL Week in Review, which I'll tell you why, on, in a sec, Game Recognizes Game, Front Office Sports Today, Game On with Bianchi, I think it was, and Kravitz, Up and Adams, where she was at the Derby. And it's because he is a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I only comprehend the words that come out of mouths that are multi-passionate entrepreneurs, whether they're millionaires or billionaires, it doesn't fucking matter. I understand, like, their language, and it just really inspired me, okay? So he also owns Repole Stable, which is why he was at the Derby, Kentucky Derby, and recently just became owner in the United Football League. Okay, so that's why I was listening to all these sports shows. And I just went down a rabbit hole of research. I'm like, I need to know him. I need to understand. I don't know why at this point. Okay, I don't know why. I'm like, he's saying the same thing over again on all of these shows. He goes to St. John's. He's part of the basketball. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. But why am I so intrigued? I grew up in a football family. I don't even talk to my family right now, where he's so pro family. I have no relationship with my family. I think we all know the story, but if not, scroll back. I couldn't figure out why I was so intrigued by this man, what I needed to learn from him. I just know I needed to keep researching. Now, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours worth of listening to podcast episodes, he starts talking about this wellness brand, this brand called No Bull, no bullshit. And right now it's apparel, but he wants to turn it into a wellness brand, and he wants to do all of these things, and he takes all these risks, and he's failed and he hasn't failed. And he's talking about how he always looks for the 1% instead of the 99%. And he's passionate and he's creative. And I check all those boxes. But what does he say that he wants? He wants a podcast network. Yes. I was like, oh my God. Are you fucking kidding me? So, Mike, if you are listening, this is my informal pitch. I need to run your entire network, and this is why. So, in a very long story short, this show is 8 years old. I've also written and developed about 30 others for my clients, 9 of them having to be launched just during the pandemic. Why? Because everybody was coming to me. My business is 100% referrals, asking me, how can I survive during COVID when I have a brick and mortar, when I have an online coaching business, when I have this, when I have that? I'm like, you need a podcast. So we developed podcasts. I developed 9 of them just during the pandemic to help business owners get out there when their stores were shut down. That is a whole episode I've probably recorded so many times because of the audio and all of that. Everybody wanted a podcast. That's when podcasting truly blew up. I started my podcast in 2017 because I was told I was going to be blind and paralyzed. And at the end of the day, all I had was my voice, right? And back then I was listening to Ed Milet, Lewis Howes, Gary Vee, and they're all saying, get a podcast, do the job, da-da-da-da. And so I did it. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I launched a podcast uploading video files, okay? I had no clue what the fuck a podcast was. I figured it out and I got shit done. Because if I am going to be curled up in a ball in bed, paralyzed, but I have my voice and I can still monetize and I can still help people, because at the end of the day, all I want to do is help people tell their stories, make a living, do all the things. Like, I want to help you get there. I can do that if I have a voice left. So that's what I did. I launched the Happy Workaholic podcast back in 2017. It was all about business, LinkedIn, and my life with an autoimmune disease, because I was still a business coach. I thrived on LinkedIn, which I still do. And I had an autoimmune disease. And then years later, I find out after being put on 13 prescription drugs and overdosed with chemo that I was healthy. So I know a little bit about wellness. Now I'm a holistic girly, let's just say that. But business is what I love. But I also love telling the stories, helping people figure out how to tell the stories, make an impact. People want to make an impact in this world, but they're going to do it when they're passionate and creative and like sharing their own stories. We all want to hear a story. I wanted to hear more about your story, so I went down a rabbit hole of research, learning more about you. So now I'm listening to you talk, and you're all talking about grit and how you're getting shit done and how you wake up broke and you go to bed with money. And I have a never give up attitude. I also have done so many things where a normal person would never even comprehend or think about. So in my 20s, please hold, I'm turning the page because I wrote down pages. Okay, so in my 20s, I worked on a very small cruise line based out of Rhode Island. It was called American Canadian Caribbean Cruise Line. The bow dropped down, we could fit into 3 feet of water like in the Panama Islands. It was amazing. It was 17 crew, 100 passengers. Then I moved into after I did that, because I was always in the restaurant business, which I think everybody should be in, I moved into makeup. I was a professional makeup artist. I worked doing makeup professionally in Boston and Rhode Island, all around New England, New York, for a couple years, but I got the bug to travel again. What can I do to get a job on cruise ships doing makeup? So I called every 1-800 number I could find on the internet of every large cruise line and faxed them my resume. Months go by, months. I finally get a bite. And somebody says, none of us have makeup. We only have a spa. And the spa is Steiner, and that's based in the UK. So I called them. That's not my vibe. I'm not an esthetician. I don't wax brows. I don't color hair. I want to paint your face because I love art. I went to art school my whole life, and that's what I want to do. But I want to be on a boat that floats, and I want to see the world. So I created a position that never existed. I then, in a 1.5 year time, had worked on 27 or 37. It was a lot. Major cruise ships, floating around the globe, painting faces during the sea days, formal nights, the dance cast, the ice cast, and all of the passengers. I created it. It needed to exist. And I left because I got burnt out. And then I started living in a yacht house. It was basically like a sorority and a fraternity, but everybody that lived in these homes works on super yachts, because I was based out of Miami and my friend was a captain on a yacht, and he said, come live here. If you don't know what you want to do, like at least it's yacht week, we'll party and have fun. So that's exactly what I did. And then the phone rang the next Monday, and it was somebody who I could not understand his accent, and he kept asking me over and over again if I was American. And I said, yes. He's like, we're on the way to Mary's Crew House. We're coming to get you. I'm like, well, I'm not, like, I don't work on yachts. I'm a makeup artist. And he's like, I don't care. I need you to clear customs. So I realized he's South African, because now, working on more than 30 super yachts, I helped clear them through customs based out of Miami, because it's very, very difficult. That's a whole nother episode, but it's just the story. So because I was American, I was able to work on more super yachts, and I ended up working for a circle of friends, all based out of New York and Jersey, that happened to be in Miami and Lauderdale, all of their boats. And every week, every few days, every month, I was on a different super yacht working for families. I was a chef. I was a chief stew. I was a nanny. I was a makeup artist. I did every job. If you know anything about yachting, which I'm now back in now, which is crazy, you have every role. If you watch Below Deck, then you know, but thank God those cameras were not rolling when I lived this life. Because I once had the feds on my boat looking for drugs. Not mine, a captain's. It was insane. Anyway, that is something else that I did. I landed into luxury. And then I launched a business called Landed in Luxury. And I took all of my experiences and all of the contacts I had known living in Las Vegas and created these one-of-a-kind luxury experiences that didn't even exist because I created them so that my clients that were landing off their private aircrafts could enjoy when they came into the city. But I had to close that business because then I became sick with this disease I thought I had, which I was then misdiagnosed with. Okay, I know this is a crazy story, but I'm just trying to prove to you like what I do to get shit done. Now, into my 40s, I realized now I was misdiagnosed. I was living in Del Mar, California. I went there specifically to get a what's his title? Neurosurgeon, oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? Anyway, he was a specialist at UCSD and neuroradiologist. That is the word, neuroradiologist. That's what happens when you do chemo. You have chemo brain sometimes. So I waited 6 months to see him, showed up with 17 CDs from MRIs, over 100 pages of paperwork printed out, and he takes one look at me and says, "You're not sick." And I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" So I fought him on it, and then he sent it to two of his friends, which, by the way, I had 18 neuroradiologists at one point look at scans of my brain, one versus a perfect, and they were identical. So I realized, oh, wow, if John Hopkins, UCLA, UCSD, top diagnosing expert in the world of chronic illness and autoimmune diseases, and somebody else out of Denver, I think he was, or Utah, all say, this girl is perfectly fine. Now what do I do? For the last 5 years, I've been told that I'm sick, and I've been on this medication because I'm sick. Like, I've been doing chemo. I have a port. Like, are you kidding? So I had to, thank God, go through my Rolodex of families that I had worked with in the yachting and private aviation industry. Clients at that time I had were actually attorneys, and I went through over 100 attorneys, and nobody would take my case because I wasn't missing a limb, I wasn't hooked up to a machine, and I was still alive. And we only had a very small amount of time for the statute of limitations to run out. So guess what I did? I became an overnight attorney. And when did that happen? Right before the pandemic. So in 18 months' time, I closed not one, not two, but 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 medical malpractice legal cases in 18 months in the middle of the pandemic. Did I win millions? No. I walked away from a trial that would have cost me millions because of the pandemic. Everything was shut down. I chose to close them in record time and legally be able to say the doctor's names. Now, I've always said, I know that this doctor could save your life, but he made a poor choice on mine. And that's how I've always said the story and shared everything on the show, the names, everything. And that's the same in the medical industry and how I became a patient advocate, because it's your job to keep your records organized. That is how you save your own life. And I learned that in a very difficult way. But now I preach that even to my friends. I'm like, if you don't have your records organized and something happens and you don't have a patient portal and you don't have something on your phone where nobody has access to, like, you need that. A lab result can save your life. A scan can save your life. And if you're not organized, if you don't have access and you don't have a power of attorney, you're going to be in a tough situation one day. That's just life. And unfortunately and fortunately, I went through that, and now I can help other people because of the way that I, in record time, close those cases. And during the pandemic, I also launched those 9 shows and wrote my book. So that was a big blur, and this is why I had to go back to San Diego to close all those trauma chapters in my brain so I can move forward with my next business ventures, which is where you come in. I want to run your podcast network. I want 15 minutes with you on the phone, and I want to know what you want, and I want to show you how I can get it done for you. That's it. That is my pitch. Now, I am fearless. I have the fierceness that you need. There are so many synchronicities in your story versus mine, and I just want 15 minutes of your time because I know that I can help you with this network. I am so passionate about podcasting. I don't even know where to begin, but when I start writing with a new client, I ask them, okay, the who, what, where, why, when. Like, what is your show about? Who is it for? When are they going to listen? I ask them 5 questions. Literally put it in a Word doc. I need them to spell it out for me. I then write the intro, the outro, the official show description, all of that. I set them up marketing funnels. I ask them what networks they want to be on, like where they want to be available, how often do they want to record, like what is the purpose of your show? How creative do you want to get? How formal do you want to get? Like, are you going to show up every week? Do you know for a fact you're going to show up every week? Are you going to disappear? Do you want a series? What do you want it to be about? Do you want to change topics? Like all of that. I'm so passionate about podcasting because it's all I had when I only had my voice. And now that's how all of that was born. Developing shows is how I just made one choice. If you wake up early, you work your 18 hours a day, you make one fucking choice. It's either you're going to be in it to win it or you're not. And I was in it to win it. And because I made a choice to upload a video intro, video file rather than an audio to my Blueberry podcasting platform, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. That led to a podcast development company that I did for years. That one choice. So your one choice is to give me 15 minutes of your time, and I'm going to see what you want, and I'm going to make it happen. I'm so passionate about podcasting and helping others get to where they want to be at in life. And I don't know who is on your realm or in your bubble of no bull and who you're thinking about having shows, but I want to help you create those shows. I want to help you develop them. I want this network to thrive. I could build a network too. I don't want to because I want to work with somebody that understands like the grit, the passion, and all of that. I've thought about it. Trust me. I've pitched my show to several networks. And at the end of the day, like it wasn't for me. Like where everything happens for a reason. And I was brought up that way. I believe that. I see it. I feel it. I like all the emotions, right? I know that just the things that come out of your mouth, like the way that you speak, the way that you run your businesses, the way that you sell your businesses, the people that you work with, it's something that I get. I don't know how else to say it. I just get it. I understand it. But when you add in the wellness aspect, the creativity, the emotions, being able to monetize, the network, the podcasting, like all of that has my name written all over it, and I want to do it for you. So that is my pitch. I need 15 minutes because our time and money is very valuable, as well as our energy. And if you want someone who is fearless, who is ready to bring the fierceness and to move this endeavor forward, I can tell you, I could do it my way or I could do it our way. So let me know. My email is in the show notes, and let's see how long this takes because I've never done a pitch like this before. And I figured I can make you a video online. You're never really online because you're working or whatever. But I know that your people will see my video or hear my podcast. But here's my thought process behind pitching you with this episode. You're running around like a lunatic. I can be in your ear. It's only 20 minutes. So that's my formal pitch, and I'm so excited to talk to you on the phone. I'm not messing around. This is serious. I'm so serious about this. And I've only told a handful of people. I've told 2 clients. I'm like, this is like the biggest pitch of my career. I don't know why I'm doing this, but something in my gut is telling me to do it. And all the stories that I just shared with you, in my 20s on the cruise ships and yachts, in my 30s working in Vegas in private aviation, in my 40s now becoming an attorney and podcasting and writing books and doing all of the things. Like, I feel it in my gut and I fucking do it, and it's a success. And sometimes it's not. But let's do this. I'm excited. I'm ready to run your wellness brand network, podcasting network for Noble, and I'm excited to hear more. So contact me.